What's up, party people? Scotty Knows back at it, talking basketball. It's been a minute. I know, haven't talked basketball on this channel in a little while, but I'm back, of course, and right now we are in the middle of the Final Four. We are in the middle of the Final Four. We are in the middle of peak basketball. The NBA playoffs are about to start. College basketball is about to wrap up. We are near championship territory. Before we know it, the WNBA is going to be back. So there's a lot of basketballs going around, a lot of good basketball going on, a lot of things wrapping up, a lot of things starting up. Yeah, let's just dive in. Let's dive into the Final Four and then react to some of the final scores, some of the matchups, some of the fun things that happened in this Final Four on a Saturday night rather. So let's start with Illinois versus UCONN. Illinois versus UCONN was a very interesting outcome. I think the numbers and statistics showed you that Illinois probably had the favor against UCONN with their size and ability to score offense from the three-point line, especially when you have a player like Kean Wagler paired with a backcourt in Kylan Boswell. They have bigs that can stretch the floor a little bit as well. So they kind of have a good combination of size and also shot making from the perimeter. But pretty much UConn just outfought them a little bit, I thought, throughout the game. I think your brain tells you Illinois has the upper hand because of those things that I just said, like the advantages in terms of their size, ability to stretch the floor, space the floor. But I think UConn just took advantage, or not even took advantage necessarily. I think their toughness and physicality and the way that they have pretty much their offense as a whole, in terms of the way Dan Hurley has his own kind of like curated offense and how that's been so tough to stop over the last 3 or 4 years. But what my gut was telling me, what I felt throughout the day and what I felt throughout the night as well, when it came to UConn, for UConn side of things, is that they could get through things with a little bit more toughness, physicality, and kind of they just have a good theme going in terms of their offense has stayed for the most part consistent for the last 3 or 4 years in terms of how they have such a layered offense with their actions and whatnot, and the thing that in the types of things that Dan Hurley has them doing out there. And also when you have guys like a Solo Ball or a lot of guys like Alex Caravan and whatnot, that have been on this team for the last couple of years, you have this nice tight-knit camaraderie type of team that has experience winning championships. They have experience going on deep tourney runs and whatnot. So they have the experience to back up they have experience. They have that kind of camaraderie, tight-knit relationship aspect to their team, to where it's like they have a lot of leaders on the floor that have been in those high intense situations, which is really important. So I think they beat Illinois in that aspect. So they have a lot of players, especially a head coach that just knows what they're doing, and they know how to win these types of games because they've done it before. They've won 2 national championships. So nothing of surprise in that way. So I felt like when it comes to those kind of like fundamental things in basketball and sports in general, like just having a team that is cohesive and can kind of blend well together, and also just like they have experience, it's hard to really beat that. So for Illinois, again, they have a nice backcourt in Kean Wagler and Kylan Boswell. They have nice big play in Merkovich, Isevic, and whatnot. And of course, they have one of the probably the best player of the night, Andre Stojakovic, who played phenomenal tonight. He's such a great player in terms of slashing, rebounding, hustling, and just playing pretty solid basketball all around. The only thing is, which is crazy, is that he just doesn't shoot the ball well. I think he shoots the ball, as I'm looking right now, he shoots the ball from the three-point line. This year is his worst shooting year, and his last name is Stojakovic. So that's kind of crazy that his game isn't really perimeter oriented in terms of how he scores and how he could really kill you. He's shooting 24% on the year. He's like an average, like just under 30% three-point shooter for his career in college. So not the greatest shooter, but in terms of everything else in his game, is pretty darn good. And his stock might have just gone up in terms of being like a second rounder in the NBA draft. That's kind of his range, but I think it's gone up a little bit to maybe like mid-second round or maybe even early, depending on what you prefer. Overall, Stojakovic had a great game. He showcased pretty much all of his talents, his ability to drive the ball, slash to the hoop, be physical, be tough, rebound the ball, do those complementary things, kind of be that go-to guy when it came to getting paint touches and creating an advantage for the team. Especially when you have guys that could light it up from three, like a Keaton Wagler, or especially when you have guys that could hit the outside shot on his team as well. He just complements the Illini extremely well. I would like to see him for his senior season, of course. I think next year, if he could just get that shot to at least 30%, or not even just 30%, but get that to, 34, 35, just like around college average, I think that could definitely do wonders for his draft stock, and maybe even he might be able to be like a late first rounder if he could just have a even better senior season next year. But overall, I think he's a really good player. Could probably go in the second round of the draft this year in draft 2026, but we'll see. But of course, I think early on, UConn just struggled. I mean, not UConn. Illinois just struggled to deal with UConn's three-point shooting ability. That's part of the reason why I was like, your brain tells you Illinois should win this game, but yet UConn just outshot them and completely just dominated from the perimeter early on as well. When you have someone like Braylon Mullins, who had that phenomenal game-winning shot at the end of regulation against Duke, you kind of expect the hoop to look like the largest hoop of all time. You know what I mean? Like, he started off the game pretty hot. Or did he miss his first couple? I can't remember, but he had a pretty good game. I think he led the team in scoring this game as well. Braylon Mullins is supposed to be this first round talent, mid first round, probably even lottery pick, if I would say for myself. But yeah, Braylon Mullins and Terrence Reed both led the team in points this game. Terrence Reed had 17, Braylon Mullins had 15. Braylon Mullins was 4 for 7 from three. When you look at his overall numbers from 3-point range this year, or from this past season, he's definitely the numbers don't really do him justice, especially with him, I think, starting the season a little bit late. I think he missed a couple of games. I think I believe he's been in and out of the lineup all season for UConn a little bit, kind of like up and down in terms of his availability. But overall, he can shoot that thing. That's his archetype. He projects as like a legit NBA sharpshooting wing or guard that could kind of do the complementary things, make the right play. He's a pretty smart player as well. He's great off the ball. I love his play off the ball. I think his natural ability to dominate off the ball, being in this UConn system, fits him perfectly, because he just wreaks havoc. He wreaks havoc in terms of going from one side on the left wing to being on the other side on the right wing off of like a pin down or like a wraparound curl, whatever you want to call it. I feel like he's everywhere at times. I feel like he could kind of just come off of anything and just kind of and just knock a three-pointer down, especially if he's feeling it. And then Terrence Reed, of course, was just so dominant. I feel that he was the one early on. I was getting him and Braylon Mullins mixed up, but early on, Terrence Reed was the problem. Was the one creating all of the problems for Illinois. They just couldn't deal with his physicality and his ability to crash the boards. Just great job trying to get in the post, because obviously that was working pretty early. Getting in the post was working pretty early on, and that was just something that was consistently happening for UConn. That was just of success for them. So Illinois tried to combat that the physicality and like the post touches to Terrace by just like doing this kind of zone look thing throughout the game, just to make UConn shoot the outside shot a little bit more, I guess. Not shoot the outside. I think in the beginning of the game, UConn wasn't necessarily like on fire yet. They're kind of still working through the motions of the game. So the main problem was, for Illinois at least, was to how can we take Terrence Reed out the game. They couldn't really do that. The only way they were able to do that was by using that that 2-3 zone or whatever zone they were giving, and then pretty much UConn just floods it pretty much with threes at that point, and they just can't really keep up. Illinois can't really keep up with UConn. But from Illinois' perspective, looking at the season as a whole, I think it's just a phenomenal, awesome season for Illinois. I think they surpassed some expectations. I think a lot of us expected them to make the tourney again. But I believe for them to go this far and face the UConn and get to the Final Four, that was a surprise for me, especially with Keaton Wagler. Especially with him, I think Keaton Wagler, I know Keaton Wagler, we all know Keaton Wagler wasn't really a player that was on anybody's radar necessarily as like a legitimate lottery pick or even like first round pick. I think he was projected to probably be in the second round or not even like drafted at all. I don't think he wasn't really on many people's radar as like a legitimate NBA player yet, or even like to make a huge contribution for Illinois. So for him to pretty much have one of the better freshman seasons in the Illinois jersey, that was pretty awesome to witness all season long. So great job for Keaton Wagler, great job for Colin Boswell all season, great job for Andrei Stojakovic, especially in this game. And of course, shout out to all the bigs on Illinois. They had a pretty good season for themselves as well. Unfortunate that they couldn't get to the championship game, but I think getting to the Final Four is a great accomplishment in itself. And they just had to, the hard thing is trying to improve next year, possibly just being a better team. That's going to be hard, especially when you have the transfer portal and players kind of going into the draft. Especially you're going to have a couple players from their own team that are going into the NBA draft, so that's going to be difficult. But overall, if you're a Fighting Illini fan, definitely soak in this season and be appreciative for what you were able to witness. And of course for UConn, they're just on this verge of like a dynasty in college basketball. They could possibly have 3 championships in 4 years or whatever it is. So Dan Hurley is a great coach, and of course UConn just knows how to win games and just how to be adaptable against multiple teams that they face, no matter who it is. So yeah, UConn is one of those. On the men's and women's side, is just one of those programs in college basketball where they're just always doing things right. So shout out to UConn, of course. Let's move on to game number 2, Michigan and Arizona. So obviously my mindset going into this game for Michigan versus Arizona was just like, this game should be just as good as Illinois versus UConn, if not even better. I thought this was a better matchup. I thought this was was likely to be a closer matchup. I think, in my mind, I had Arizona winning the whole entire tourney. So automatically, I just chose Arizona to win this game. Michigan, of course, has the best offense in college basketball. I've known that since the first week. I remember watching the first 2 or 3 games of Michigan in like late November going into December. And it was just very clear that this team had a little bit of everything. They move the ball well. They have a solid guard play. They have great players at the wing positions. They just have a good overall team, especially on offense. They do things right. They play good basketball, and it was pretty easy to tell. So, yeah, I think in this game they just kind of blew Arizona right out the water. Right out the gate, they're hitting threes. I think what was the beginning score? 10-2. I didn't take as many notes on this game or really like pay attention to it in the second half, just because they ended up being up by 30 with like 10 minutes to go, whatever it was. So this game is definitely is going to be a bit more of a simplified review in terms of like reviewing the game as a whole. But they pretty much blew them out the water. I think Michigan is one of those teams that could just catch fire like that. It's not really great if you're a team that allows them to hit 2 or 3 shots in a row or go on a mini run, because that mini run will turn into a long ass big run in terms of that 6-0 run will turn into a 18-4 run for Michigan. Arizona hit 6 of 17. So again, at this point, especially for this year, and the way college basketball has gone, if you don't know, you should know now. 3-point shooting and rebounding are like the main things that you need to win the tourney. Those are like the two main things. Those are the two main things that you need in order to have like a Cinderella run, in order to have a Final Four run and go on a deep run in the tourney. You need 3-point shooting and rebounding. Rebounding, of course, and on all levels of basketball, you need to be able to rebound the ball, close out a possession. If you could offensive rebound, that equals second chance points. A lot of 3-pointers can be generated off of offensive rebounds, so rebounding is just great all around. The more rebounds you get, the better your chances are at winning the game. But what happens is in college basketball is that the 3-point line is like, could be your savior if you just catch fire as a team, especially. Like if you have a whole bunch of players on your team that can shoot the 3 and could really like just light it up, and just if you have 4 out of 5 3-point shooters on the floor, you could play 5 out and just spray it from 3. That's what Alabama does all season. That's their whole motto. So it's not a coincidence that Alabama just ends up winning 2 to 3 tourney games every year. It's the way they play. So, and of course the defense is not really existent, but you know, for Alabama either. So that's their problem. But what I'm trying to say is that 3-point shooting could really be your savior, and really like, if you just have a great 3-point shooting day, you could literally beat 80 to 90% of the teams in the tourney. And with Michigan, knowing that they have size, of course, and they just have they have size, length, athletic, they have everything. It's hard to really, great guard play. It's hard to really compete with them in terms of a talent standpoint, and just looking at their roster as a whole. Of course, Arizona has great talent as well, but the difference was just like them threes just killed them, and overall they started great to the game. They started great. They began the game with great energy and just started great. Arizona just couldn't hit any shots, unfortunately, early on, and that just affected them. Excuse me. So that was a bit tough to watch for Arizona. But in terms of specifics on player performances, for Michigan, I could damn near say everybody. Off their bench, I don't think they had. No, they did have. Okay, yeah, never mind. Excuse me. In terms of player performances, I could pretty much say Michigan's whole entire starting lineup. Yaxel Lindenborg obviously has his ankle injury. We'll see how he deals with it going into the championship game. But he had the ankle injury, and he still managed to go 3 for 3 from 3-point line. Played 14 minutes, pretty much managing that ankle, of course, but still made a great contribution to the game. Morris Johnson Jr., 10 points, 3 for 7, 7 rebounds, 4 assists as well, just showing off that passing and playmaking ability. And then, of course, you had Ade Mara, who's probably their X factor in this entire tourney, or at least just all year in a way. Ade Mara is kind of like this rim protecting 7'2" or 7'1", whatever it is, 7-foot rim protecting behemoth type of a center that kind of has some flashes or some aspects to his game of playmaking and kind of just connectivity on the floor and just great hands. So he projects to be an awesome first round pick as a center in this upcoming NBA draft. So Ade Mara pretty much put everyone on notice that, like, yeah, he's one of the guys that you should be looking at, and he's one of the better. He's probably he has been one of the better centers in college basketball all year as well. And then, of course, probably the main dude of the night, Elliot Cadeau, just phenomenal game in terms of like just managing it, decision making, vision, playmaking, passing ability. His passing ability is some of the best in college basketball. So no surprises there that he has 10 rebounds. He did have 6 turnovers. He could be a little bit turnover prone at times. I think that's kind of like the swing factor for Elliot Cadeau. If Elliot Cadeau could just limit turnovers, if he could cut his turnovers in half, then usually Michigan is going to win. It's when he has a lot of turnovers and he just struggles to shoot from the 3-point line where if he struggles to shoot from the 3-point line and he turns the ball over, that's where you kind of have concerns for Elliot Cadeau. But this game, even with those 6 turnovers, he just did a great job of just finding everyone, outlet passes, looking ahead, using his vision, just phenomenal point guard play from Elliot Cadeau. And then from Arizona's side of things, they just struggled all around, honestly. I think Cole Pete still managed to have 16 points, 6 for 18, 1 for 1 from 3 actually. So he actually shot a 3 this game, which was nice. We know Cole is going to rebound. He probably was their best player on the night, Cole Pete. Definitely wish I would have gotten a better game from Braden Burries. I love Braden Burries. I think he's a great player. I think he's a winning player. I think he's going to be great in the NBA, or pretty solid. He's going to be a solid guard in the NBA. Just couldn't find a shot at all. For someone that's been shooting 3-ball well all year, he was 2 for 10. Just couldn't find it. They just got beat. It's pretty much just like for Arizona. Once Michigan kind of finds their groove, and once they just the way they started that game in terms of hitting their threes and just flowing on offense, it was just like if you just allow them to get comfortable early, this is what happens. This is what happens. You end up getting beat by 20. You end up getting dubbed, 91-73. So yeah, that's pretty much the story for Dusty May in Michigan. And now they just prepare for UConn, I guess. So now we have UConn and Michigan in the final championship game for this year's college basketball championship. That should be a pretty good game. Definitely gonna miss this year's Illinois team. It sucks to see them go. I was definitely rooting for them out of all the last, out of everyone in the Final Four. That was the one team that I was rooting for to win it. Didn't really think that was going to happen just because I believed that the 3 other teams were better than them. But in terms of like overall talent wise, I just felt like with Illinois, you could push them around a little bit. I feel you could out tough them, I guess. You could kind of be a bit tougher than Illinois at times. But great season for Illinois. UConn kind of surpassed expectations from what I had maybe a month ago in terms of like legitimately being in the championship game again. UConn just kind of, I feel like they were banged up throughout the year and like to start the year, and just like very up and down, even though they still managed to be a good team. But I think this just shows that like experience and just having great cohesiveness and just players rising to the occasion. And also in March Madness, you definitely need great momentum. You need momentum and just like great confidence in order to win these games. And when you have Braylon Mullins hit a game-winning shot against Duke in the previous game, that does wonders for a player's confidence going into this game. So for Braylon Mullins, he's going into this game like he can't miss a shot, because it's just like if you hit something like that against Duke and to win the game and to move your team forward, he's definitely coming into the Final Four pretty good. He feels good about himself. He feels good about what he could do. Every time he shoots the ball, it's pretty much there's not a lot of doubt, and that's pretty much what he did in this game. So no surprise there. Unfortunate ending for Arizona. That was my pick to win it all, on my bracket at least. So that sucks for me. But anyways, Arizona just got beat out the water. Just couldn't keep up with Michigan's offense. Simply put, if you let Michigan just get going early, it's going to be a long game. But great season for Arizona again. Again, they're one of the better programs in college basketball. Braden Burries and Koa Pete are definitely going to head to the draft, and we'll see how Arizona can get better next year. And Michigan, I think, would probably be my pick to win it all at this point. But of course, I'll probably have a video or say more about the Michigan-UConn matchup. But Michigan would definitely be my pick to win it all. So that's something to keep an eye on. But if Elliot Cadeau and Daymar do what they do, and then if Yaxel Lindenborg could just be Yaxel Lindenborg and just be the best player for Michigan that like he has all season, Michigan has a great chance of winning against UConn. And mind you, their head coach Dusty May, he was already scouting UConn before this game. So he's already he's I guess the way he's gotten to this point is just always staying ahead of the game. So he stays ahead of the game. He's scouting teams before he even gets to them. That's what works for him. I don't have any problem with that personally, but that's what works. So just do what you gotta do, right? But all in all, pretty good Final Four so far. Well, one game was good. The other game was kind of whatever in terms of the second half, at least. But crazy that college basketball is coming to an end now. But obviously, we're getting into more NBA playoff time, so I'm definitely going to come out with more content and videos and discussions about NBA playoffs, and then eventually, like I said, definitely want to get more into women's basketball, of course. So once the WNBA season rolls around, we are going to talk about the WNBA. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I'm Scotty Knows, and I just talk basketball, hoops, NBA, WNBA, college basketball, you name it. It's all on this channel. I appreciate y'all, and peace.